In a small provincial town, where the streets are usually quiet and sleepy, a huge crowd gathered today. It was the funeral of police captain Sergei Ivanovich Petrov, a true hero who dedicated his life to fighting crime. Sergei was not just an officer, he was a loving husband, a father of two, and a loyal partner to his service dog, a German shepherd named Max. Max, this powerful, intelligent dog with a shiny black and red coat, was always by Sergei's side during dangerous operations. Together they solved dozens of cases, saved many lives. But 2 weeks ago, Sergei died while chasing bandits in the forest on the outskirts of the city. His body was found only a few days later, frozen in the snow. The city mourned him as a hero. The ceremony took place in the old city chapel, decorated with wreaths and police flags. The air was filled with the scent of fresh flowers and incense. Relatives, colleagues, friends, all sat in silence, broken only by soft sobs and whispered prayers. At the foot of the coffin, covered with the Russian flag, sat Max. He was wearing his service vest with the inscription, "Police," and his eyes, usually full of vigilance, now seemed dull with grief. He did not bark, did not growl, he just sat, staring at the coffin, as if waiting for the owner to get up at any moment and call him for a walk. The priest began the service, his voice echoing throughout the hall. "Today we say goodbye to a man who gave his life for us all." Sergei Ivanovich was a shining example of courage and devotion. The crowd nodded, many wiped away tears. Olga, Sergei's widow, sat in the front row, clutching the hands of her children, her son Misha and daughter Anya. She tried to hold on, but her eyes were red from crying. "Daddy always came back," Anya whispered, and Olga hugged her tighter. But suddenly the silence was broken by a low, plaintive howl. It was Max. At first everyone thought it was just grief, dogs feel lost too. Max let out a quiet whine, then a bark, soft, as if calling. People looked at each other, but no one stood up. "Poor dog, he doesn't understand," one of Sergei's colleagues whispered. The officer sitting next to Max tried to stroke his head. "Hush boy, hush." But Max did not stop. His barking grew louder, more insistent. He stood on all fours, ears erect, tail tense, eyes fixed on the coffin. The barking turned into a growl, deep and warning, echoing off the walls of the chapel. The crowd began to whisper. "What's wrong with him? Maybe he's nervous about the crowd?" someone asked. Olga looked up, her face contorted in surprise. Max had never behaved like this at funerals or in stressful situations. He had been trained to remain calm even under fire. But now he barked desperately, jumping toward the coffin, his paws scratching the polished wood. "Max, no," Olga shouted, but the dog did not listen. He barked as if warning of danger, like during search operations when he found something important. A veteran police officer, Senior Lieutenant Alexei Smirnov, a close friend of Sergei, stood up from his seat. He had worked with them for many years, and knew Max like the back of his hand. This is not just grief, he thought. This is a signal. Coming closer, Alexei leaned toward the dog. "What is it, boy? What do you smell?" Max did not growl at him, but only barked louder, poking his nose into the base of the coffin. And then Alexei heard it. A quiet, almost imperceptible squeak, muffled and weak, coming from inside. His face turned pale. "Open the coffin," he shouted to the funeral director, his voice trembling with excitement. Shocks of horror swept through the hall. "What? Are you crazy?" the director exclaimed, but Alexei was adamant. "I'm serious. Open up right now. Max isn't barking for no reason." The priest froze, crossing himself, and the crowd froze in shock. Max growled again, pressing his nose to the lid. Finally, under pressure from his colleagues, the director nodded, and 2 employees slowly lifted the lid of the coffin. Inside lay Sergei in his dress uniform, his arms folded across his chest. But under those arms, in the folds of the uniform, something moved. The quiet squeak became louder. Alexei leaned over and carefully parted the fabric. There, pressed against Sergei's body, lay a tiny newborn puppy, wet, trembling, with closed eyes, no more than a few days old. The hall gasped. No one could move. The puppy squealed weakly, looking for warmth, its tiny paws twitching. Max, seeing this, immediately changed. His bark changed to a quiet whine. His tail wagged slightly, and he carefully looked into the coffin, as if guarding it. "My God, how is this possible?" Olga whispered, standing up and coming closer. The crowd began to whisper. A miracle? A sign from above? Some of the officers crossed themselves, others just stood with their mouths open. Alexei, trying to stop the trembling in his hands, carefully picked up the puppy. It was cold, but alive. And at that moment, a folded piece of paper fell from under Sergei's uniform. Alexei picked it up. There was Sergei's familiar handwriting on it. "If something happens to me, take care of them." "About them?" Alexei echoed out loud. Max licked the puppy, confirming that this was not a hallucination. The crowd froze as Alexei unfolded the note and began to read aloud, his voice breaking. If you are reading this, it means I did not return. Max is with me, and if she survived by a miracle, then no, it was not an accident. I knew that she was about to be born. I hid it from everyone, because I did not want anyone to interfere or panic. Max and I have seen things that others cannot understand, but we have always understood each other without words. Alexei paused, swallowing a lump in his throat. She was born that night when I disappeared in the forest. The cold was terrible. I knew I would not survive. Max did not leave, even when he could have saved himself. He stayed guarding us. When I closed my eyes for the last time, I prayed that someone would hear his bark. Tears poured from everyone's eyes. Olga fell to her knees, sobbing. He knew. He always thought of others. The priest prayed quietly, and the children ran up, looking at the puppy with wide eyes. Is this Max's little sister? Anya asked. Max sat nearby, calm now but alert, as if his mission had been accomplished. Later, as the sun was setting, the puppy was carried to the police station. A veterinarian, called urgently, examined it. Despite the cold, dehydration, and hours in the coffin, she will survive. This is a real miracle. The puppy, a small female with the same black and red fur as Max, lay in a warm blanket, snoring. Max lay down next to her, his eyes never leaving her. He was no longer just a partner, but a protector. Olga came to the station, still clutching the note. She sat down next to Max, petting him. You saved her, just like he wanted. You didn't let us lose her. Max laid his head on her lap, relaxing for the first time in days. Alexei stood in the doorway, watching. Sergei never stopped protecting, even after death. The police department unanimously decided the puppy will stay with Olga and the children, and Max will raise her. She will grow up knowing the story of her father, a hero who, even in his last minutes, thought about life, not about himself. This story spread throughout the city like a legend. People came to the station to look at the miracle puppy, who was named Nadezhda, in honor of the hope that she brought on the day of mourning. Max found a new goal, to protect not only the law, but also this baby, continuing Sergei's work. Max's bark was not a cry of grief, it was a call of life, a signal that even in the darkness there is light. And if you like such touching stories about the loyalty of dogs, do not forget to share it with your friends. After all, in a world full of losses, miracles happen thanks to those who do not give up. Friends, thank you for taking the time to read this story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to support us. See you in the next wildlife stories.